The Qingdao Declaration of the SCO member states has a State Council meeting. Second, decision on adoption of Action Plan 2018 to 2022 and implementation of provisions of the Treaty on Long-Term Good Neighborliness, Friendship and Cooperation of the SCO member states. Third, decision on adoption of program of cooperation of the SCO member states in countering terrorism, separatism, and extremism for 2019 to 2021. Fourth, decision on adoption of the SCO member states anti-drug strategy 2018 to 2023 and a program of action for its implementation. Fifth, decision on adoption of the SCO concept on prevention of abuse of narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. Sixth, decision on elaboration of a draft program of cooperation of the SCO member states on food security. Seventh, decision on adoption of the concept of cooperation of the SCO member states in the field of environmental protection. Eighth, decision on adoption of the program of action for implementation of provisions of the SCO member states heads of state joint appeal to youth. Ninth, decision on adoption of the report of the SCO Secretary General on the organization's activities over the past year. 10th, decision on adoption of the report of the SCO RATS Council on the SCO Regional Anti-Terrorism Structure Activities in 2017. 11th, decision on signing MOU between the SCO and UNESCO 2018 to 2022. 12th, decision on the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Secretary General. 13th, decision on the SCO Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure Executive Committee Director.
You're watching live footage from Qingdao. Leaders attending this year's SCO Summit are signing a series of major documents. These are considered as major achievements of the 18th Summit of the SCO. Of course, standing at the centerpiece is the Qingdao Declaration. That is the pivot document in the achievement of this year's summit. Also, there are many other documents regarding...
The Qingdao Summit has also adopted the following 4 documents. First, the SCO member states heads of state joint appeal to youth. Second, the SCO heads of state statement on joint countering threats of epidemics within the area of the SCO. Third, the SCO member states heads of state joint statement on trade facilitation. And fourth, the SCO heads of state council meeting press release.
This is an agreement signing ceremony in Qingdao happening during the 18th SCO Summit. Leaders of SCO members have signed the Qingdao Declaration, which stands as the centerpiece of the achievement for this year's gathering. Also, there's wide-ranging agreements covering issues like friendly neighborliness, and also the fight against so-called three evil forces, namely separatism, extremism, and terrorism. Also, leaders also signed agreements on trade, food security, youth work, and even epidemics. What do you make of these achievements so far, Mr. Teng?
I think more consensus have been reached by the leaders this time. After this summit, I'm sure all the states, including the member states, observers, and the partners will, follow the roadmap adopted by the leaders today, and they will expand their cooperation in various aspects. For example, in politics, they will continue the momentum to enhance the mutual trust, and in security, I'm sure there should be some pragmatic steps, including joint military drills against three evil forces, and in economy, of course, that should be speed up for the cooperation in various areas, in connectivities, in infrastructure, in financial sector, and also in trade. So I think this is a new stage for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that may have a more clear-cut direction and more cooperations and more exchanges from people to people in the future.
And gentlemen, if we take a close look at these agreements, they are about the big picture. They're about values, for example, the Qingdao Declaration, but they're also about specific areas and even people's well-being. For example, there's an agreement on cooperation to curb epidemics among member states, and this agreement on SCO's efforts in engaging young people, the youth in member states. What do you make of these efforts?
Well, the youth are the future, and of course epidemics is a commonly shared problem. It's a very pragmatic issue.
And food security as well, right?
Food security. What you see happening here right now, what we are witnessing, is the establishment of a organizational framework for the Belt and Road Initiative. Remember, the Belt and Road Initiative, we talked about 70 member countries. These are countries that simply signed a memorandum saying they wanted to participate in that initiative as a vision. Those were very, very general memorandums. Now we see with these agreements actually addressing very, very pragmatic issues not only of development but health, of empowering youth for the future, food security, water, environmental issues. All of these are the nuts and bolts, the bones of the body of an organizational structure that can now make the Belt and Road Initiative a reality. And that's what's happening right now in this room. That's what we're witnessing.
So can we say that a synergy is being built up between the SCO as a more political framework and Belt and Road Initiative as a pragmatic framework? Can we say that?
Yeah, this is a very important point for the countries concerned to cooperate in every aspect that we discussed just now. I think Road and Belt Initiative is not a physical road, is a spiritual road of cooperation, and that will give all the countries, not only in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but other countries in various regions, that they could have some benefit from such a cooperation. So I think this is really integrity of the initiative and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization roadmap for the future.
Again, we get back to where the SCO started, security. We can see the agreement signed this time has a very specific time frame. That's from 2019 to 2021. So long-term speaking, do you think security will be a sustaining challenge in this particular part of the world?
You're right. I think, as we discussed just now, the three evil forces are still there, and the challenges are there. So I think we should, take new steps to cooperate in combat these challenges. For example, anti-terrorism, the anti-separatism in Central Asia and in China. We're still facing the same challenges for this. The separatism is still there, and I think security, of course, is a condition for the regional stability and also for domestic development. Just imagine if there were a terrorist attack. So this is not only a physical destruction of a building. This is psychological, strike on the ordinary people. So I think all the countries in Shanghai Cooperation Organization have addressed the importance to cooperate in dealing with the security challenges. This is a very important part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization.
Let's talk about values and the just signed Qingdao Declaration. So, which is considered to be the centerpiece of the summit, highlighting the Shanghai spirit. What do you think is exactly the Shanghai spirit?
The Shanghai spirit, as we discussed just now, for example, mutual trust, mutual benefit, equality, and respect to different civilizations. And
Mr. Bram thinks respect is the key idea.
Yeah. I think that this time we should have a new, vision toward these spirits. For example, with the wider use of information technology, can we have new, innovation for the organization? Of course, I think we can, because such a development gave a very strong, driving force to the cooperation among the member states, and I'm sure after this summit, all the countries in this area can go, in a very clear-cut blueprint, and the cooperation in various aspects will be enhanced in the future.
So earlier, Mr. Bram, you said respect is the key idea here, and you said it's even the key idea of Confucianism. But in Confucianism, it's about respect. It's also about self-discipline. So international politics, how important is self-discipline right now?
Important to be.
Sorry, let's go back
now
to
the leaders will witness the signing of 4 documents. I'll ask the representatives of member states to take their seats.
You're watching live footage from the eastern Chinese city of Qingdao.
They will be signing the MOU on promoting cooperation within the SCO in the field of micro, small, and medium enterprises among the SCO member states' ministries in charge of foreign economic and trade activities.
So, Mr. Bram, let's talk a little bit more about what's happening right now. SCO member countries are signing an agreement on the cooperation among the organization and countries' small and medium-sized companies. Why it's so important?
Because it's with the small and medium-sized corporations that you begin to have innovation and opportunity. And this is, traditionally a lot of the countries in the group, in the case of the Central Asian countries, Russia, came from an old state plan system. So those large state-backed corporations, heavy corporations, the same as with China, have traditionally been the leaders. But they're not the ones who are innovating. They're the status quo. And innovation comes with small enterprises. Whether it's technology, environment, trade, business, this is where opportunity is needed. But these companies have trouble getting finance, and this is really key. And so now by supporting the small, medium-sized enterprises, this is giving opportunity not only to the enterprises, but to the youth and the next generations who are going to build those enterprises and make them big.
So earlier we talked a little bit about financial framework within the SCO, but that's on a macro scale. So specifically in helping small and medium-sized companies, what measures are you expecting?
Well, that's one piece of it. Financing is going to be part of that. Again, bringing down trade barriers is another. But are we going to be looking at a special capital market for the SCO at some point, with SCO enterprises listed on that capital market? We're looking at we're talking about an SCO development bank. We're talking about a potential reserve currency for the Belt and Road. This is the future. This is where it's going to go. These are the elements that are really going to make this whole thing a game changer.
But talking about Belt and Road Initiative, there are already some financial institutions under that. For example, the AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the Silk Road Foundation. Since you've mentioned a synergy between the SCO and the BRI, do you think eventually there will be a merger between the two, even the financial institutions and mechanisms?
Well, there's no need for a merger between the New Development Bank, AIIB, and a SCO Development Bank, because these will have different functions and different focuses. The scale of development needs are so great, and what happens with these institutions is they have separate portfolios, they have different agendas and focus, but what will happen is you will have projects that will have multi-financing, and so you may have several institutions that are coming together, what we call in finance a club lunch, and putting together a package and financing a particular project. And that's even open for old world order institutions like the World Bank and Asian Development Bank. I'm sure they're going to have an opportunity to come into this type of financing arrangements as well. It's not going to. I don't foresee it being exclusive, but I do see it as being driven, homegrown driven, and that's what we see right now.
And I believe also a bilateral or multilateral investment is also very important in this bid. For example, in his speech, Pakistani President Hussein mentioned that last year Pakistan has attracted the largest amount of private investment overseas in history. So as the framework becomes more mature, do you think that could be cases for more member countries?
Well, what happens is when you have a situation where you have underdevelopment or you have had an isolationism, your starting point is lower. And so when you open the doors, you create, in the case of Pakistan, a more stability, a more stable investment environment. It's like a magnet. It attracts opportunity. And if we look at this entire, scope of this, revived Silk Road, this is all about opportunity. And so once you have stability and security, and that is clear through economic development, and you have the infrastructure, the connectivity we've talked about, rail connectivity, trade connectivity, some barriers coming down, air connectivity, you're going to have a lot of business.
Right, let's cross live.
That's the end of the signing ceremony. Thank you.
Yeah.